Welcome to Mysteries, Monsters, and Mayhem.
The podcast about all things creepy and weird and interesting. Serial killers, true crime, cryptids, ghosts, and today, next week actually, even aliens. So
yes, a little bit of everything for everyone.
That's right.
Not suitable for work.
Not suitable for work, not suitable for children. We can pretty much guarantee there's going to be language at some point, and I'm talking about a crazy dude today, so definitely that's not safe for work either.
I'll be talking about a crazy critter.
Yay!
Oh, tell them who you are.
Who you are?
Tell them who you are.
I'm Shannon Lawrence. That's who I am, I think. I don't know. It's been a busy week. Pretty sure I'm still Shannon Lawrence. Horror writer, short story writer, hopefully, eventually, contemporary fantasy published author. But have a newish book out. It's not new anymore when you're listening to this, called Happy Ghoulie Days. But here's the thing. When you're listening to this, it's still applicable because it's not just about Christmas. It goes all the way through Valentine's.
There is a ghoul for every occasion.
There is. For every winter holiday.
Yes. And some you probably didn't even know about.
I didn't to begin with for some of them. Who you?
So I am MB Partlow. I am not a cryptozoologist, but I desperately want to say that I am. I don't know why.
We know a cryptozoologist who's like affiliated, who's in that Matt Bill.
Oh, that's right. I forgot.
Part of the Colorado Springs writing community. Did you finish introducing yourself?
I'm not a cryptozoologist. I am a writer. I am not a cryptozoologist, and my hair is still red.
Oh, okay. Mine is still purple.
I have decided I am not done being a redhead. By the way, for anybody who doesn't know me, my hair is naturally red. It's just that nature would now like to turn the volume down, and I'm not ready for that.
I am naturally purple-haired, actually.
I think you probably are.
At this point. No. I'm a natural brunette, but also much of it has gone to white. So I'm having fun with it while I can during the transition.
But the white is very striking.
I'm constantly tempted, like, should I go natural and have the fun? Because growing up, it was like, the native aunties. That was my thing that always struck me that I loved. And I was like, when I grow up, I'm going to have that, was the long dark hair with the white streaks. And I can't explain why I loved that so much and why it's just like in my head. So I wanted to do that. But I like the purple.
Well,
and honestly, I'm one of those people that everybody thinks they know that looks like somebody else, but they never actually remember who I am, and the purple helps. Like at a writing conference, they're going to be like, do I know you? And I'm like, yeah, I know you. I can tell you 20 things about you, you fucker. But thanks for making me feel anonymous.
Do you remember the conference we went to? We walked in. I think you were with me. I walk in and this woman walks up and she goes, MB, the new haircut looks great. The new glasses look great. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, gotta run. I'll catch you later. And I looked at the group of people that we know very well sitting there and I said, who was that? And they're all like, we have no idea. We thought you knew her.
Who dis?
Who dis? I don't know. But when you work with conference.
People remember you.
Yes. And when you work with conference, you're dealing with people, you're answering people's email and answering questions. So if you answer their question, they think you remember them.
Yes.
And
I was a safe point of contact because of non-conference events and some conference things. Other than that, yeah, I'm the person that I can see the same person that I think I know and be like, hey! And they're like, you see that look on their face and you know they don't know who you are. Yeah. So that's me. So the purple helps, and then I wear a flower in my hair. I have to do little things so that they're like, oh yeah, you're the one with the flower in her hair, or you're the one with the purple hair.
All I have to do is laugh.
Right.
And people are like, it's that woman with the big mouth. That would be me.
Aww. What have you done this week?
I don't know. I'm like, I have not put my Christmas tree up. I know y'all are listening to this after the first of the year, so I should be talking about, what are your New Year's resolutions?
Fuck those.
I have one. I adopted it several years ago, and I'm still working on it. And I've made great strides. I know nobody will believe this, but my New Year's resolution was to sometimes think before I open my mouth.
Oh! How's that going for you? great.
Actually, it's been a great help. Because you have the same thing I do. People are like, you have no filter.
You're like, yeah, buddy. There's so much filter being employed whenever I'm near you.
Yeah, there's a lot of filter here.
Oh, well, fascinatingly. I might as well just put it out there for my PSA. I am going off of Cymbalta, which I was put on for fibromyalgia. And it's a nasty, my body hates Cymbalta. So, unfortunately, they say it's not addictive, so I don't understand. It's like when they say you can't be allergic to cigarette smoke, but you can be sensitive to it because it can't technically have an allergy component to it, which I still don't understand. And I'm like, whatever, I don't care. I know. Cymbalta is not technically addictive, and yet your brain, it changes your brain, and therefore you can go through horrible withdrawal symptoms. And some people have something called pause, and it lasts for years and years. It's withdrawal for years and years and years if you go off it too quickly. So I'm tapering, and my first taper, you're supposed to taper no more than 5% at a time, and at least go 2 weeks. It's supposed to take years. And okay, so I'm not going to completely do it up to that par because I went off of it because my body hates it. But I dropped 10 milligrams, which is that's like 30 something percent, right? So I've been dealing with that this week.
Yay!
So that's been busy, and I finished another class that drove me nuts. Yeah, we were talking about that before the episode. It was accounting and finance and management. And to be clear, I've worked so many facets of accounts receivable, accounts payable, management where I had to keep general ledgers and bookkeeping for a small restaurant and all this stuff. And I really kind of hated that class, but I passed it and I'm done. And I did it while on withdrawal and losing 2 people I knew to COVID in 1 week. So it's been a busy week. And yet I feel like I've done jack shit, actually, precisely. Yeah.
Yep, I get that.
I accomplished.
Oh, I'll have to show you a picture. I now have a pair of magical shoes.
Magical shoes?
Magical shoes.
Do they light up?
No, that would be very me. But no, these are very not me shoes.
You have glittery shoes.
Right? If they had glitter and they lit up and they made loud noises, you'd be like, well, yes. These are high heels.
Oh my gosh, you got high heels?
Right?
Oh, those are adorable though. Those totally
Aren't they?
You should post a picture of that when we put this episode live.
I might do that. I will do that. Okay, so what I did watch a movie this week that somebody else recommended that I did not think I would like because it's called Happiest Season. Yes, it's a Christmas movie, but you can still watch it.
I watched it too.
With Kristen Stewart?
And David.
Yes, I watched
what's his name?
Daniel.
Oh, Daniel
Levy.
Okay.
I watched it only because Daniel Levy was in it.
I did.
And it was actually good. It was for what it was. Actually, I thought it was a cut above a lot of the Christmas movies I've seen because not dissing them if that's your jam, but this was really well put together. And Kristen Stewart, who I'm not a huge fan of, I thought she did a really good job. But the woman playing opposite her was like 16 inches taller than she was.
Yeah.
That was just so weird. So then I started thinking, is this woman freakishly tall?
Or is she in heels because Kristen Stewart? I don't remember because Kristen Stewart was in shoes. Though, like she never wore heels. I don't think so.
So yes, the gist of the movie is this woman convinces her girlfriend. The girlfriend is Kristen Stewart. So this woman convinces her girlfriend to go home for Christmas with her. And Kristen Stewart is very excited. She has an engagement ring in her pocket. And the woman stops like a mile from the house and goes, by the way, they don't know you're my girlfriend. And she's like, okay. And she's like, and on top of that, they don't even know I'm gay.
Yeah.
So hijinks ensue.
Oh my gosh. I know. I spent a lot of time mad at the person she was in a relationship with.
Yes.
And then I will say though that Daniel Levy then has a conversation because he's the bestie.
Yes.
Has a conversation with Kristen Stewart where he says, you know what? For some people, it's not as easy as it was for you when you came out. And I think that was a very necessary part of that movie.
Yes.
And it kind of made me go, okay, it's not fair. She thinks that her family is going to disown her. It's not fair for me to put my
right
my impressions on that because it was far easier for my daughter to come out to me than most of my friends got from their families.
Exactly.
But yeah, I am not a Kristen Stewart fan, but I have to say that I've started coming around. I don't know if I just held Twilight against her.
Yes.
Or if maybe she's grown a bit as an actress, or a combination.
Yes.
Yeah, I liked her character in that. So, yeah, saw that too. And it was cute. My husband, I thought it was going to be funny.
I did think it was going to be funnier than
Again,
it was.
Daniel Levy. And so I got my husband to watch it with me.
Oh.
And we're sitting here thinking it's going to be funny. At one point, he turns to me and he goes, "This is not funny." Because it's a bit of an emotionally hard
It is.
film to get through. And what's her name? She is or was Mary Steenburgen.
Yeah.
Okay, she's great, and great to the point that I wanted to throttle her.
Yes, she was very good. Except, no, she was very, very good. Don't get me wrong. I just think she perhaps could have played their grandmother.
Oh.
I mean, it wasn't like the girls were 18 years old. And there are 3 sisters in this family. And they're all fucked
the youngest one, I know.
I loved her.
We loved her the whole way through. She was they were so awful to her.
Right?
And they treated her like she was stupid and useless. And yet she was the one fixing their internet. And she was the one.
And that painting.
Oh.
It was gorgeous.
Yes. So
And
I liked when
woman,
she had her moments.
Yes. And then she does this painting, and this woman looks down her nose at it and goes, "What is this?" And I'm like, what kind of fucking idiot are you? It's a gorgeous painting.
Bitch, it's art.
But I was like, why would you look at it? Because it's like 4 foot long. I'm like, what is this? I'm like, it's not a cast iron turd. I mean,
what do you think it is? I'm confused at your question.
I'm like, I think the screenwriter was on deadline at that moment and needed a line of dialogue.
That would piss people off.
What is this?
Oh, I should say the reason I started talking about the Cymbalta is I'm going after that. I'm going to be going off my Zoloft too for PTSD. But here's the thing that people need to know about this.
I may need a plexiglass divider.
Yeah, these things aid my filter.
Oh.
So at some point on this podcast, I don't know. There might be some heavy editing while I go, ooh, don't want to say that out there.
Do we need a safe word when I go?
You should just write down a note, look at the time, be like, so I don't think that you should broadcast what you said here. That was at 13 minutes.
If I say peanut butter, it
if
means
I say peanut butter,
stop and take a breath.
Ooh, take a moment and I'll say some things. This isn't something you want to say in public. Okay, I watched Snatchers.
Tell me about that.
Okay. So 'tis the season for me to try and watch holiday horror, but I saw this one because I was watching I watched Betsy's Wedding, which is an old Alan Alda, Molly Ringwald.
God, yes.
Well, I've been watching a lot of older ones, and so we were watching on HBO, and it kind of led me down this bizarre rabbit hole, and I got to this movie Snatchers, and it says it's a teen girl has sex for the first time, gets pregnant with an alien, and then she must hunt it down to kill it. And I was like, I'm in. And it was funny. It was inappropriate, and it was fantastic. Nice and gory at moments, but not super scary for anybody. Not scary at all, but for somebody who doesn't like scary, but it was funny as hell.
Hey, if anybody out there wants to share their HBO Plus log in with me, I'll be sure to watch this movie.
Yes. And it led me to an old Fred Ward movie that I had never heard of. So it was weird, and I think I still haven't decided how I feel about it, but I think I liked it, and I don't remember the name of it, so I wasn't even gonna. So it's Fred Ward. It starts out, and it's noir, right? He's a detective. He's a private detective, and it's totally noir. It's set in the 20s, or what looks like the 20s, right? And then you notice that people have magic.
Oh.
Okay, so they're using magic, and he gets a bunch of shit because he doesn't use magic, and it's supposedly like his downfall. Then it becomes Lovecraftian, and that's all I can say on that. So it was super crazy.
movie.
Yeah, I need to figure out what
You'll
it's
have
called
to-
because I recommended it to people and I'm like, okay, but I don't know what it's called. So I need to look up Fred Ward, and Julianne Moore is in it.
Wow.
Yeah. So anyway, interesting film. And that was the end of that rabbit hole for the night. Yeah. How about TV? Are you watching any TV, or are you comfort watching?
When this comes out, I will have binge watched the new season of Letterkenny. It comes out on Boxing Day, December 26th.
Oh, okay.
I'm very excited.
Will it come out on Hulu, or does it
yes.
come out elsewhere first?
It comes out somewhere on Christmas Day, and I think it comes out on Hulu December 26th. Boxing Day.
I'm excited for when Wonder Woman hits HBO.
Yes.
Because there's several movies
Wonder
coming
Woman
out direct to
1984 or
yeah,
something
Wonder
like
Woman
that.
84 or
Yes.
something. So I'm again, that'll be out by the time. It doesn't mean I will have watched it. By the time this comes out, just because it comes out.
Another movie that people were talking about that we've talked about. I hope by the time this comes out, we've both seen Freaky.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Oh, I got people keep posting about it now.
Yes.
Over, and they're watching it because it's available for the $20.
I know, I'm just so
on
cheap.
Prime
I'm actually waiting until Thing 2 gets home for Christmas to watch it.
I may not make it much longer before I say, all right, just cough up the $20. It's
yeah.
We haven't gone to a movie which costs more than that in a movie theater, and I don't even remember what the last movie I saw in the theater was because I don't go often. No. Ooh, that one's so bad.
It was. I remember.
What?
I think we went. This was so embarrassing. We went and saw Cats.
Oh my God! Please let that not have been the
at
last
the Dollar
thing I saw.
Theater. We saw it in like January.
Oh no, it might be.
So we went with friends to see the movie Cats at the Dollar Theater, which is no longer a dollar. But I don't know what happened to me, but we sat down. The four of us sat down, and the movie opens, and they start frolicking across the pavement to go to the fountain, and I started to laugh.
Just died laughing.
And I laughed pretty much through the entire movie. It was the best ab workout ever. I'm not kidding. I would stop and I would hear somebody go, he, and I would just... I snorted.
And then every time you laugh, it makes everybody else laugh. We actually pissed people off.
We did.
But I guess I was confused that there were people there taking it seriously. That was the part that puzzled me. But
yeah.
And I have been to the musical. I have the soundtrack. I love the songs. Okay, Cats is ridiculous to start off with.
As a premise, it is ridiculous.
But, yeah, that movie. There are good actors and actresses in that movie. There are good singers in that movie.
Dame Judi Dench is in that movie.
I love Ian McKellen's character.
Yes, I did. But it was... That might be the last thing I saw in a theater.
That's so wrong. I don't know. I thought I saw something with my husband.
You may well have.
Right before, but God knows. We've been watching The Mandalorian, which has been, you have to watch it as each episode comes live on Disney Plus. By the way, Disney Plus has announced that they are putting out the sequel to Hocus Pocus, which I assume will be like Halloween next year or
that would make sense.
Something like that. But yeah, so I
am on board for that.
They announced something else too that I was like, damn it, Disney Plus.
They announced a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah, there's been a bunch of good. There's a bunch of Christmas horror popping up that I need to watch. And you get
Shudder.
I do get Shudder, and I love it. People warn me against. They were like, they don't get enough good stuff, and I'm like, oh my God, I don't. Between school and everything else, I don't have time to keep up, so I miss stuff before it's gone sometimes. But I've been able to see so many things I wouldn't have been able to see without it because they bring up old ones too.
Oh yeah.
So they have all these old giallo horror films on there. It was kind of an Italian, not noir quite, but like an Italian crime type of film that they did. There's other people who were doing that too as well at the same time. So I've gotten to see a bunch of those. But just old films that you hear people talk about all the time, and unless I went to buy it, I never would have gotten to see it. And even then, buying some of them is really hard. And I got to see Blood Quantum on there. So,
right.
Yeah, which I will be buying. But, so many good things. I'm so excited about it. Well, then I might as well talk about the one I was going to talk about next time, and I'll move something else there. But Eli Roth's History of Horror popped on a new season. You said that's originally on AMC, so people with cable could have watched it. But I totally watched the whole second season last night while I was working.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was good. I sat down with a snack, and what episode comes up? Body horror.
I might skip that episode. I'm just going to tell you I might skip that episode.
Well, it's fascinating. There's a little more... They talked to David Cronenberg, who's kind of the master of body horror and film, right? And they talk about Clive Barker and stuff. But Cronenberg, I've learned interesting things about him via Joe Bob's Last Drive-In, where he gives trivia. And in this one, there's a little more where he watched his mother deal with cancer and then ultimately die of cancer.
Oh.
And it informed him knowing about just being horrified by this process of the body changing in these terrible ways, right? Metamorphosing, and that's what he does. So
that is okay. I might try to watch it because I can always avert my eyes or fast forward if I need to. Because I watched the first series, the first season rather. Okay. And I really enjoyed it.
I had forgotten they did Wes Craven. I guess his first foray was Last House on the Left. I guess I'd forgotten he was involved with that at all. Oh, yeah, they went over that. And then when he did Fred Krueger, it was based off of the name of Crew, who's in Last House on the Left, who's one of the big nasty guys.
Oh.
So it was really, I love trivia.
I love knowing stuff like that.
And I have started lately when I watch a movie going to IMDb and looking up trivia on it. And so my brain is just overflowing at this point with random trivia. We watched Mummy as the family last week, and this week Mummy 2. And so I haven't looked up Mummy 2 yet, but yeah.
I love those movies.
Yeah. So
it's just like I have 1970s and 80s commercial jingles in my head.
Oh, yeah. I had stopped, I think, absorbing new things for a while because I grew up in a movie theater. My mom managed theaters when I was little, and I'd spend my time with her because Dad would go to work at his job, and then he'd do night school. And then, so I was with Mom at the theater all the time. So I grew up with movies being in. My grandmother was a big movie person, and we were big movie people. And, it was the thing where we watched stuff together, TV shows and movies all the time, which we don't really do now because the kids can go to their room and watch what they want to on Hulu or whatever. Yep. So those nights where they sit and watch something with you are great.
Yes.
Because, my daughter sat down there with me the other night baking cookies and designing earrings she wants to sell on Etsy. And we were watching Joe Bob's Last Drive-In, a Christmas special that he did. So that was fun. Yeah. So she watched that with me. But, yeah. Good stuff.
Usually what happens at our house is if one of the girls is home for the weekend or for a visit or whatever, and they'll be walking through and I'll be watching something and they'll say, "What is this?" Or I'll say, "Hold on," and I'll restart it. That's how Thing 2 started watching Letterkenny. Because I'm just sitting there laughing my ass off and she comes in, I'm like, "Sit down. I'm just going to restart it. Just trust me." And she was like, because, you don't trust your parents when they say, "Trust me."
No.
But she did. And she liked it. Allegedly.
Yeah. And, well, that's how I was rewatching My Name is Earl. And then my son loved it. And then we started watching it together.
That.
Oh, it's still good. It's so much fun.
Write that down.
With Jason Lee and Jamie Presley. That's where I discovered Jamie Presley. I already knew about Jason Lee from Kevin Smith's movies. But... oh, she was fantastic. She's so funny.
She is. It really is.
Yeah. What have you read?
I read Wonderland by Jennifer Hillier that Deanna Cumberland recommended.
Yeah. So Jennifer Hillier, I read that when it came out because she's in the blogging community.
So sweet.
Yeah.
It was really good because I remember there's been a bunch of pulp horror written about amusement parks, and I've read some of those. I mean, in the 80s, they were pulp paperbacks like that were easy to come by. So I kind of expected, and I mean, even Stephen King, Talisman.
Yeah, and there's another one. He did. It was one of his more recent ones, and now Joyland or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And Talisman he co-wrote with
Peter Straub.
Peter Straub. Mm-hmm. I don't want to take credit from anybody. So I was kind of expecting it to be more campy horror, and it wasn't. But it wasn't disappointing. It was a really good. And I liked, what I really, really liked about it was that the author really gives you several creditable ways that, to suspect who's behind what's going on.
Yeah.
She gives you a lot of different options if you could think it was this. There's one that's sort of the obvious choice. So you say to yourself, it can't be him.
Right.
He's the obvious choice. And I'm not going to say anything more about it.
She has 3 or 4 out.
Yes. I'm looking forward to reading more of her work.
Okay.
So, and what have you been reading?
So, I know I talked about it last time. I did finish Woman in Black by Susan Hill. I just started it. And it was actually really good. I was surprised it took me... That it's just kind of almost a classic haunted house story, but with its twists. But I don't know. I'm fascinated by moors. You always read about moors. I think I read about them the first time in The Secret Garden, probably, where they live on the moor.
Oh, yes.
Yes. And then I remember seeing a movie and going, oh my God, that's a moor. I know from the descriptions that I've read, that's a moor. And then they said that they were on. I was like, yay!
Isn't that in Hounds of the Baskervilles? They're on the moors.
Oh, yeah, I think they're on the moors. Right. And it's not supposed to be this pleasant place, but I'm like, I kind of like it.
Well, yeah.
And I read Cameron Clare's Betting the Boss. So I will say, for people who like steamy romance, that this is the one. This is the type of romance. It's not erotica, but it doesn't suddenly switch to a new scene after they've kissed and it's been intimated that they're going to be having sex. There is sex in the book. So, but yeah, and I will say, for anybody who already made an assumption about something called Betting the Boss, the female is the boss. Just want to throw that out there.
I did want to mention, because I know we want to get into our mayhem soon.
About that time.
I do want to mention there's a restaurant in town that you and I both like, Carefree Bar and Grill.
Yes.
And they had closed because of the COVID restrictions, but then they reopened to take out. Well, of course, you're welcome to come sit on their patio. But it's 33 degrees today, so no thank you. But so they reopened for takeout, and people were just raving about their chicken, their fried chicken.
Oh, really? Did you get it?
We got the last order Thursday night.
Oh, we may be doing their lasagna family meal too.
That looked really good too. So anyway, I have not yet had the pizza stuffed fry bread.
Yeah, I do want to say it's Indigenous owned. In fact, it may be one of only 2 Indigenous owned eateries, I'll say, because the other one is a food truck in Colorado Springs.
It is. We got a brownie.
Oh, yeah, I think they come with the meal,
Yeah, okay. So, because they had sold out of the family meal, so she said, I still have a 4-piece meal, and Joe was like, I'll take it. So, they gave us a little bit of extra on the sides, and she goes, just so you know, with a general single meal, we would not give you quite this much food. It was a ton. The corn.
Oh, yeah.
It's magical. I said, how do you cook it? She's like, fry it with salt and pepper and butter, and I'm like, so good. But the brownie was huge, and it is a very gooey brownie.
Okay.
It was really gooey and really rich and really delicious.
Good to know. Yeah. Now, see, they were originally set to open in March.
Yes.
I think it was. And so they didn't even get to open until summer.
Right.
And I was super excited because for fry bread, okay, I refuse to make fry bread at home because then I know how bad it is for me. But if somebody else makes it for me, I can pretend it's not as bad. Yeah. So I've only made it at home like once or twice. I prefer to get it elsewhere. But I had to go all the way to Denver to get it at Takabi.
Which we also love.
Yes, which is magical and is also Indigenous owned. But then this place opened up and I was like, oh my gosh. And then I only got to go there once. And then...
Yeah, we went.
Yeah, we went there. And then my husband and I went to get right before everything shut down again. And we went to pick it up to go. And the dining room was empty because it's also a bar. And everybody was at the bar. Yeah. And we were like, all right, the dining room's empty. We're going to sit here and eat. Just to do it one frickin' time. And anyway, I had an Indian taco there. And I have to tell you, he kept looking at my food. The fry bread was massive and just dense, and I actually couldn't finish the whole thing. And it was just heaped with, it was so good. But my thing is they have bison there, which
Yes.
for me is the alternative that I do because I have high cholesterol, or I did, and then my son had it, and so I switched us to bison meat, and he now tests perfectly normal, and I haven't been retested, but so I eat bison. I don't eat really red meat much anymore.
My doctor finally said, okay, dumbass, I'm paraphrasing, we're going to put you on statin drugs. Because I fought it for years, and she was with me. And I just kept not losing weight and not improving my cholesterol. So she puts me on statin drugs. I think 6 weeks later, I had to go get a blood test because they have to test your liver. My cholesterol is 124. That just delights me. Now all the individual numbers aren't precisely. We are still working on that. But I was just like, holy shit. It was like magic.
Oh, okay.
So I am...
See, my husband has high cholesterol, and the doctor did all this stuff. I adapted our entire diet around it because that was well before I had the cholesterol issues, which are probably a mix of medication and the fact that I'm on bioidentical hormones. I'm on testosterone,
right.
And that's when my cholesterol went up, and that is a natural byproduct of that. And it just didn't change. And the doctor's like, I would put you on statin drugs, but there are people who have this higher cholesterol number, and it never causes them any problem, and it's just the way their body is. And he says, I think you're one of those.
Which is reasonable. And with me, it was as my weight would creep up, my cholesterol would creep up, and she's like, let's not die of a heart attack. I was like, all right. I love my doctor. So, all right. So let's get into, you're starting this
I'm
week.
starting.
You start.
Okay. So I am doing the godfather of Matamoros, La Padrino de Matamoros, Adolfo de Jesus Constanzo. So we're going to see how I say his name through the rest, because I already told you ahead of time that for some reason I want to say Costanzo without the first N, and so it drives me nuts. My sources this time, you're going to be stunned. 2 sources.
Wow.
Not 5 billion like usual, Murderpedia and Wikipedia.
Wow.
I know, right? Usually I have like... Okay, let me list. It'll take me 5 minutes to list my sources. All right, so Adolfo was born in Miami, Florida in 1962. His mother was a 15-year-old Cuban immigrant. They moved between Puerto Rico and Florida a couple of times with him learning about voodoo. And ultimately, he got apprenticed to a practitioner of something called Palo Mayombe, which is also... So Palo is the main religion. It's Las Reglas de Congo. It's a religion that originated in Cuba.
Wow.
Among the slaves there who were from the Congo Basin. And then there are branches of it. And his branch was Mayombe. So Palo Mayombe. I had to look it up because everything kept saying, and he did Palo Mayombe. And I'm like, okay, and the fuck is that?
Is that like Pilates?
Right? Is he working out? I will say he was also baptized Roman Catholic. And while he was learning all of this about voodoo and Palo Mayombe, which involves animal sacrifice, he was an altar boy at the church. And I was like, this is fascinating, because
that always blows my mind.
Yeah. It's all it's all like that. I mean, when you look into there's very barbaric origins to Christianity as well.
Oh, yes.
Viewership drops. But sorry, not taking it back. After a young life full of petty crime, he got arrested for like shoplifting. His mom got in trouble too, and he ended up with a stepfather for a while who was part of the drug trade. And he also practiced the occult, this stepfather, so he was just embroiled in this. Ultimately, as an adult, he moved to Mexico City. He went there for 1 year in 83, came back, 83, came back, and then he moved to Mexico City in 84. And he went there he met 3 men there, and they kind of started this business involving magic and
those words don't
sacrifice.
go together.
Yeah, at first he was just a tarot reader, but he met these 3 men. Apparently he was in a relationship with the men as well. The article that was posted by Murderpedia, I could tell that the bent was kind of uncomfortable with all of that, and it was like he was in a bizarre menage a trois with 2 of the men, and I was like, A, it's not a menage a trois, they were in a relationship. B, it's not bizarre. And then it says he discovered he was apparently bi, and it's like, okay.
Well, Not unless one of the men was a woman.
He did get into a relationship with a woman later.
Okay.
I will say that from the outside, it seems to be more like he was gay and that having this relationship with her was a means to an end, perhaps. But he's billed as bi. In his circumstance, it didn't necessarily seem that way.
Is there anything... Does it ever say anything about how he identified?
It did not.
Okay.
I will say...
Because he would be the final authority on that.
Yes. Yes, he would. But he was mostly in relationships with men. So, I don't know. And it could just be that that's where he leaned. So, that's fine. But anyway, they start this business. And they're doing spells and psychic predictions and sacrificing animals. And what they're doing this for, he's getting this... Apparently, he had some charisma, right? And he was drawing in bigger and bigger people. And he ends up, because he was already kind of involved with drug trafficking via his stepfather, he ends up doing these big magic spells and predictions for drug cartels in Mexico City. So we're talking big stuff, right?
Why has this not been made into a movie?
It actually has.
Okay, because I'm like, this has everything.
The cult element was.
I'm like, you've got the occult, you've got...
I think it's called Borderland or something like that.
But I was just like, the occult and the drugs,
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
But they went over his books during this time, and it was like $4,100 for this spell. And what he would do is, so his mom felt that he was psychic, and so he grew up thinking he was psychic because his mom told him he was, because he predicted that Reagan was going to have an assassination attempt on him when he was a kid, and yada, yada, yada. So anyway, so he believes this, and so he's predicting for them, it's safe to do a run across the border on this date.
Oh,
and so
okay.
it keeps working out, which luck, but keeps working out, and so they're buying into this big time, and he's making a shit ton of money off of these cartels. So he's telling them when to go. He's telling them that he's made them invisible to the authorities. And so each time they skate through there without getting caught, though, they believe that the spell worked. And he also told them they were bulletproof. You do what you must. You're bulletproof. I've done a spell for you, So anyway, these guys, they're making all this money off of this. And he buys this big house, and he buys these big cars, and he's basically living this cartel type life that you see. And ultimately, he gets to the point where he's sacrificing lion cubs and zebras. It starts out with roosters, and then he actually has this accounting in his book, and it's like $4 for a rooster for a sacrifice, all the way up to $4,000 for a lion cub. Which, first of all, where was he getting the big animals? But there was a zebra on there. It just went up, 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 up. So it's like rooster, goat, blah, 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 lion cub. Which, first of all of that makes me sad. But second of all, good Lord. So, and he's running drugs during this time on his own. And he moves to a border town called Matamoros, Tamaulipas. So it's right there on the Texas border, and that's where he's starting to do this drug running from. So in addition to the local cartels, he has police, he has government officials, he has all these people who are following him now and fully believe that this dude is magical, okay? And he develops a cult, which is called Los Narcosatanicos, which is narco-satanic. It's, drug Satan. There you go. He starts grave robbing, taking fresh bodies, because there's something called, and I'm probably going to mispronounce this, it's an Nganga, and it's for the Palo Mayombe, it's a cauldron of blood, is basically what it's called. And so he's putting blood and parts into this cauldron, so he's grave robbing.
He's not grave robbing for the blood.
No, because there wouldn't be any.
I was like, that was my first thought. So he's like getting parts.
He's getting parts.
To toss in the cauldron.
So he reaches this point and he's like, you know what, you guys, to be even more powerful than I am right now, I need fresh people. I need
a human sacrifice.
So then he gets to that point. In addition to the police and the government, there's like models, there's a physician, there's this real estate tycoon. He's got all these people that are part of his cult and joining in with this. So not necessarily unintelligent people.
Right.
Which always fascinates me about cults. I'm just utterly fascinated in how it happens. And here's a way to lose some more people listening to us. I see a lot of organized religions as very cult-like in this. It provides a need.
It fills a need.
Yes.
That people have.
And so then they become believers and they get more and more and more into this.
And I understand the role that religion fills for a lot of people.
It's gangs too, though. I mean,
Yes.
this is what, it's just, it depends on your life, what you're going to get sucked into.
What need does this cult fulfill?
I don't know, because it just, for them though, I think it's different. Well, it's not. Religion, you think that there's this priest or whatever is in direct communication with this magical being. Right? Well, they think he is the magical being. So it's the same thing as people who,
I guess,
who think somebody's a god, right? So, I don't know. That's what I would love to do more research on, just personally. So at this point, they're calling him El Padrino, which means the Godfather. Again, they believe he has powers. Well, he's starting to believe his own press, right? He thinks, oh, you know what? I have made them bulletproof. I have given them this success. So a friend of his hooks him up with a powerful drug cartel called the Calzada family. He decides, because he's done all this stuff for him, he's done all these big sacrifices for him, he has helped them get to where they are in their success. He fully believes this, and he goes to them and he says, you owe me. I have kept you safe. I have told you when you could take things over there. I have made you powerful. You need to make me a partner in the cartel.
Well, that's ballsy.
It is ballsy, and they refuse. Here's the thing. April 30th, 1987, Guillermo Calzada and 6 members of the family disappear after they turn him down.
Oh.
Their bodies start turning up in the Sumpango River. Mutilated, missing body parts. They had clearly been tortured. Their hearts are missing. One of them is missing a portion of their spine. Their sex organs have been removed. Yeah.
We know where those parts are.
Their brains, their ears.
Ew.
There's all this stuff missing, and it's not the stuff that, say, a fish would have predated upon, right?
Right.
So,
I mean, eyeballs, sure.
Sure, yes, the eyeballs absolutely is one of the first things to go. Tongues, right? But
soft tissue.
But part of your spine, not something the fish are eating. So then he gets hooked up with a different cartel, the Hernandez brothers, and they fully accept him. They're in this. One of them ends up becoming part of the cult, like a cult member, which involves a ritual and all of this stuff that they have, bloodletting and stuff.
Boy.
So they fully buy in, and now he's got this powerful cartel that he's part of. So he works with them on drug running, and he cements their relationship when a rival cartel kidnaps a couple of their family members, and he does this big ritual for whatever reason. Who knows what it is? I'm sure that information's somewhere. They end up returning them safely. So I don't know if that actually, like, maybe they were afraid of him, or maybe there was a whole different reason it happened. He, of course, goes, it's all because of my ritual. It's all because of this.
He could have paid them to do it.
Absolutely. So now the Hernandez brothers, they're in it. They're like, this guy is our god. So.
Wow.
Yeah. Around this time, he meets a woman named Sara Aldreri, who he took on as his second in charge. She was his lover as well. So this is the woman that he gets involved with. She was dating this big drug dealer, head of a drug family. And what Constanzo does is he contacts him after they sleep together, and he's like, hey, she slept with me. She's mine now. So, of course, the dude's like, okay, I'm done with her. I think his last name was Sosa. And she has nowhere to go, so she has to go with Constanzo to be safe now, right?
Oh.
And so in that way, he gets her fully in there. But yeah, they call her La Madrina. She's the godmother. And so he puts her in charge of more of the cult aspect of it for a while he focuses on his drug running business. And he ends up moving to this ranch outside the town called Rancho Santa Elena. So he's out there, he's running the business from there. And he ends up later, by the way, sacrificing her ex-boyfriend, Sosa, in a whole little ritual and stuff.
I'm just thinking that's going to be ew no matter.
Yeah.
Oh.
So his bloodlust grows. He starts getting bored. You start seeing him escalating. He kills one person. That person doesn't beg and plead and scream for their life. They die well, and it pisses him the hell off. So now he's got to find more people to kill. And at this point, they're just running all over the place, killing people. I didn't know how much of this to include because, again, this article to me seemed kind of negatively slanted toward LGBTQ. So he has members. It said, it was saying transvestite. Apparently, there's a community of transvestite performers, and some of them are part of his cult and stuff like that. So I don't think he had a problem with them so much. But they end up going after one that's well known in the city and murdering this person bloodily and viciously on the streets, right? And he's bored. He wants more. He wants it to be more interesting. They shoot a couple people instead of him hands-on killing them, and he hates it. This is boring. This didn't give me what I wanted. So yeah, they're just going crazy. And one of the Hernandez brothers, I think it was actually, they go out hunting and he kills his own little 14-year-old cousin or whatever he was as part of this.
Oh my God.
They're losing it. Okay. And the cult members, they want to find him better sacrifices. They want him to be happy. They want him to have fun. And the thing is, originally, the reason that so many of them were watching it is because he was viciously killing these animals he was sacrificing. And those original drug cartel people, they were fascinated by this. They were like, oh, this is a good show because they suck. That's why. But
were they less amused when it was people?
Doesn't sound like it. There was no, I'm sure there had to have been people who weren't into it, but there was nothing in what I looked at that said anything about people fleeing. Nobody turned him in. Now they were probably terrified of him because they really thought he was magic.
Yes.
But so it reaches ahead. March 13th, 1989. He decides they need to sacrifice an American. He wants a gringo. He wants somebody who will die, he thinks, better, and he wants somebody smart. He says he needs an intelligent brain. So they find a pre-med student who's there on spring break. March 13th. His name is Mark Kilroy. So they kidnap him. He's standing outside a bar, as you do. I went to San Diego the year I was 18 with a friend to visit family, and what did we do? We went over the border and we went to the bars. Yep. And if you ordered a beer, you got a free shot of tequila. It was magnificent. So each beer we got, free tequila. We're 18 years old. We're living it up. So anyway, they take him from outside the bar, and it said that he tried to escape. He'd been there 12 hours or something like that. He tried to escape. Yeah. Constanzo gets to kill him with a machete. He hacks him with the machete. He kills him. He takes his brain.
Y'all can't even see the face I'm making.
Yeah. So I'm sure that was much more pleasing to him, right? But now an American has gone missing.
Yes.
Now the Texas authorities, they're putting pressure on the Mexican police. Okay, well, you need to find this kid or who killed him or whatever, because there's no body, right? His body doesn't turn up. Even though a lot of the people they killed, they just kind of left their bodies around the town. So people knew that these bodies, it's a message, Well, yeah. This is what the cartels do. He's this weird mix of some of these people I'm going to leave out here in the street as a message. This is the drug cartel. And then he's this, I'm going to sacrifice them here and I'm going to keep their bodies. Mexican police are starting to search for the killer, but they're also going through something that they do every little once in a while where all of a sudden they're on the anti-drug kick, right? Because they're starting to make international news again. So they're doing these big time drug busts. They're cracking down on people at the border. So they start arresting some of the cult members, but it's for drugs. And then they're doing these busts and they're going to these buildings. He owns multiple places, and then they discover there's this cult. Okay, so they know that much. So they start arresting the cult members. And Constanzo and Sara Aldrete and one of his male lovers, who is it, Martin Quintana, they flee. They go back to Mexico City from his ranch. Police discover the ranch when they have enough of these cult members. They go there. They end up digging up 15 mutilated bodies, so sacrifices that have been found. And they found his nganga, right? His cauldron. In that cauldron, there's all sorts of stuff, but they find a dead black cat. They find deer antlers. They find a turtle shell. They find, snakes, spiders, all this stuff in there, and they find a human brain. Presumably Mark Kilroy's. While they're busting his other places, they also find, guns, drugs, all this stuff, but this pales in comparison when they find all these bodies in this little cemetery that he'd made. They raid another property of his. It's in a city called Atisapan, and they find a ritual chamber in there. They also find, and when you asked about, does it say what he said? They found gay pornography.
Oh.
So again, was it all, or was this person who was writing this article leaning? I don't know. I feel they were very uncomfortable and made a point of bringing all this stuff up.
Yes, and not in this week's episode, in next week's, I'm going to talk about bias in the reporting.
Absolutely. And the way it was termed in this, there was obvious bias.
Yes.
And so that was why I'm a little hesitant to, because I just don't know. Or it was just this guy, the writer was obviously just very uncomfortable. May 6, 1989, police receive a call about a fight occurring at an apartment complex. And they go to check it out. Well, it's Constanzo's. They're the ones fighting, but somebody else had called it in. They don't even know who this dude is, right? They're just responding to like a domestic dispute.
Right, okay.
He thinks he's been discovered. He pulls out a machine gun.
Oh, Jesus.
You know, it was called buried. They were like an Uzi, a this, a that. And I'm like, so again, nobody knows what the fuck it is because they don't know guns. Right. And he starts shooting them. He actually only ends up injuring one of the cops, but of course reinforcements are called in.
Well, as happens.
That's right. So eventually, you know, his people get killed, and before the police completely close in, because they're outnumbered, Constanzo goes to one of his members, and his last name is De Leon, and he's a hitman. Mm-hmm. And he says, I want you to shoot myself and Martin. And see, and this is again, Sara was there, right? Supposedly his lover.
Okay.
Martin Quintana is one of his original lovers who he set up this business with.
Right.
He embraces Martin. He says, shoot us before the police get us. His hitman's like, I don't want to shoot you guys. And of course, and I guess Constanzo, he hits him and he says, you will pay in the afterlife if you do not kill us. This is what you need to do. So ultimately, the hitman, he kills them. By the time the police get in there, Martin and Adolfo, they're dead.
Wow.
So they don't bust them. But again, he didn't take Sada with him. And during all this, I found in one spot that she had thrown a note out the window saying, it was basically, help me, I'm being kept hostage here. Send the police to such and such apartment and tell them to be careful or they'll kill the girl. There's no girl. She's trying to get the police there. She's trying to make it so she looks innocent once they bust them.
Well, that would be lovely, but hello.
Right.
How long had they been together?
Yeah, for...
I'm like...
Here's the funny thing. Some dude finds it. He thinks it's some weird bullshit to start trouble. He just crumples up the note and keeps it. He doesn't call the police. Anyway, she gets arrested. And as does the hitman De Leon. She gets arrested, and she gets only a few years at the beginning, and then they end up pressing charges on her for murders. And then, so she gets 60 years in prison. The American police are actually waiting because they want to go after her for Mark Kilroy's murder as well for being a part of it.
Right.
I kind of wanted to dive in and see if I could find out more about her, and I didn't end up having the time to do it, and I wasn't sure because she just really doesn't come up when I did like quick searches.
Huh.
Apparently she was a big part of his cult because she was kind of running it for a while, right? And so the movie focuses a lot on her, it seems, but yeah. But anyway, so she's arrested, given 60 years. De Leon gets 30 years because they convict him for the murder of Constanzo and Quintana.
Right. Which he did.
He did, legitimately. I'm sure since he was a hitman, he'd done many others, but he didn't get busted for those. And they end up arresting, I think it was 14 members of the cult ended up getting charges pressed on them. But here's the thing. One of his original partners and lovers, Omar Orea, he ends up being one of the ones imprisoned. He dies in prison of AIDS. But before he dies, he says that Constanzo's followers are still at large. He's like, you didn't bust even a portion of us. There, again, remember, police, government, cartel members. There were all these big people. None of them get busted. Okay? So, I failed to mention before that he also, if he got mad at a cult member, he sacrificed that cult member or killed them too. So this happened with a bunch of them too, including like 2 narcotics officers that had kind of become involved with his cult.
Holy shit.
So those 2 bodies were found on his property among the 15. So he says that he has even heard there's a temple in Monterey that Constanzo hadn't started. That Asada hadn't started. That this
Right.
cult has branched out.
That
It
it's
has
continued
grown.
to grow.
Absolutely.
Nice.
So he says this before he dies. Martin Quintana's sister says there was a La Madrina before Sarah already, and she's still practicing, but she doesn't know who it is.
Oh.
But she's like, but Quintana had been with him from the beginning. So his sister is like, you guys don't know. This is the tip of the iceberg. So basically, they're saying that this is still an active thing.
Wow.
In Mexico. Aside from that, his exact death count is never going to be known. Because basically, once police found out that he was part of the reason there were all these mutilated bodies turning up on the streets, they all got blamed on it.
Right.
And for some reason, he's billed as having only 13 confirmed, even though there were 15 bodies on his property. So that wasn't explained. So I don't know if that's a miscount or what. Yeah, Mexico City, Matamoros, all of the cities, Atizapan, he was all over the place. So they have no idea how many he actually killed in all of this.
Wow.
But it sounds like it could be plenty, because how high is a body count for just a drug cartel in that area?
Right.
Right? And he was doing both of these things side by side. So I just thought...
And thinking he's a god.
Absolutely. And other people believing him that he's a god.
That's just crazy.
Yeah.
That's... I'm just sitting here shaking my head, going, what is wrong with people?
I don't know. And I really truly am fascinated by cults. And I have a couple friends who at some point in their lives were in a cult. Mm-hmm. I have to work really hard to just not question them. Like, no, I need to tell me more. Tell me why. Tell me what you were thinking. I want to know how they do it. I did a bunch of reading on Jonestown not too long ago.
We talked about that.
It was so much more involved. There's so much more to it than ever gets passed around. So I might cover that at some point. But it's again, they see this person who seems very confident, right? And we know that confidence can convince people of a lot of things.
Yes.
And they're confident, they have these beliefs. They're confident in themselves. And so people are drawn to that. And I want to know why. I want to know why the people were drawn to David Koresh. It's just...
Well, I've always said, if you act like you know what you're doing, mm-hmm. people will come to you and ask you questions. And if you answer with a firm, concise, they will believe you. And they will... I mean, we've seen... I do not abuse that power.
No, but
But you've seen it. If you just act authoritative, act like you know what you're doing, people believe that you do.
Right. And eventually you believe you do too. That's the thing. I mean, anything that you take on like that, you're like, you know what? I am the expert on this, aren't I?
I just haven't made that leap. That's why I'm not into evil genius.
Right.
I haven't made that leap to believing the hype.
Yeah.
I'm always like, can you believe they believe it?
So that's my other thing too. So at what point does your mentality become such that you buy that press, that you buy that,
I don't know.
that you think you are qualified to be this cult leader? Yeah. That's the other fascinating part for me. It's not just the followers. I do want to know why they follow something like that. I want to know how you become a person who's like, I deserve to be leading all of these people. And at what point do you believe the ideas you're thinking of are brought to you from God in some of their cases, right? Or a higher power?
Because I know some of them start out as shysters, as confidence men.
Absolutely.
As they're just going to fleece all these people. But I think sometimes it starts as that and it morphs.
Yeah.
Well, all these people believe in me, so I must be some kind of superior being.
Exactly. So what is it that flips that switch?
I don't know.
And
I hope I never find out.
No. And who do you have to be? What has to be wrong with you or whatever for that flip? But again, politicians do this all the time, right? They truly believe that they are the experts. I mean, this is politics too. And I've seen quite a bit of cult following.
Yes.
I'm putting this in quotes, but cult following for several politicians on both sides.
Yes. Yes.
And I find that fascinating as well. I thought nobody ever trusted politicians. I certainly don't trust any of those fuckers, because you have to be a certain type of person to get to that point.
Yes.
Okay? But people just hook, line, and sinker.
Yeah, and it's like, how many times can you be lied to and just keep swallowing
How many times can it be proven that they don't give a shit about you?
Yeah.
That anything they do to make you happy is to grow their power and therefore keep their position.
And it's usually an accident if it makes anybody happy but themselves.
Right. So, yeah. Anyway, all of that fascinates me, this power.
Well, I feel like, and now I'm like, and now we're going to talk about.
No, critters are fun.
Now we're going to talk about Sinkhole Sam. You gotta love a sinkhole monster.
Do you know I have an irrational fear of sinkholes?
Well, 25% of the counties in Kansas have sinkholes.
Well, Colorado is built on, like, it's the perfect setup for sinkholes.
Well, apparently they started happening in Kansas. So.
See? I find them scary. Like, when you see those articles and this massive fucking sinkholes open and swallowed a house and nobody knew it was coming, like, that is terrifying to me.
Oh,
it can happen
somebody
anytime.
knew.
Yeah.
There are people who... Yeah,
well, because
anyway.
we had that sinkhole open up over, it wasn't Mark Dabbling.
No.
Chestnut.
Yeah.
It was on Chestnut. And I was just like...
Yes, I remember that.
Oh my God, that is too close to home.
A lot of it in Kansas was due to salt mining.
And I think a lot of our problems are, the mining, but also the prevalence of limestone and sandstone in our ground.
I didn't write down the kind of rock that's salt.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
My thing is, I had no awareness of it, and then I had to I took a geology class for my college classes, and I was like, well, now I'm terrified.
Well, I was going to say some geologist out there just heard me say that rock that is salt and is crying, and I apologize.
That's okay.
I didn't write that. So my sources, the Kansas City Mag, the Newton, Kansas newspaper, which I believe is called the Kansan, the Paranormal Site.
I'm so excited you have more resources than I do.
I know, right? The Paranormal Site, I look under Cryptozoology, and the Cryptid Wiki.
All right. I love the Cryptid Wiki.
There is a Cryptid Wiki.
I know, I think I use that for...
It just sounds dirty. So, the Cryptid Wiki.
Not as much as my oral relief spray that I actually am going to do some more of right now.
I can't wait to hear that on the
I know, ready?
How's that going to sound?
That way I can edit it out. Nobody was talking.
That is very true. Okay, so first of all, you can locate the big sinkhole because the official name from the Kansas State Department of Transportation is the Big Sinkhole.
I was going to say you can locate it because it's a big fucking hole in the ground, or...
But you can go to Google Maps and type in the Big Sinkhole because it's near the little sinkhole.
Oh, I bet if a bigger one opens up, they'll just call that one the bigger sinkhole.
They probably do.
They're super creative in Kansas.
They are. So this is about 4 miles southeast of Inman, Kansas, which is a small town about 60 miles northwest of Wichita.
I'm glad you added that second part because I was like, am I supposed to know where Inman is?
No, you're not. Inman is a very tiny town. And so, and I noted, it is also hard not to find sinkholes in Kansas because they're just 25% of the counties have them. And it's really funny because they were talking about how sometimes they appear very slowly over time.
Yeah.
Because the structure under the ground has gradually worn away. And all of a sudden it just can't support the weight and it will just slowly start sinking. Or, and somebody actually wrote this on one of the websites, or, yesterday.
Right.
It just appeared.
It just went bloop.
And what happens is people will drive up to look at it. Doesn't matter what they're driving over. People just want to go look at. I get it. We used to watch the bear. We used to drive to the dump to watch the bears.
Oh, like in the great outdoors. You drive and look at the bears.
You drive to the dump and watch the bears come out and tear it up and eat. And
that's funny. See, where you thought of this lovely, cute little thing, and I thought of during Waldo Canyon when the Looky-Loos were driving through our fucking neighborhood and parked all over the place when we got to come back home.
Yeah.
And all these people were coming in because I understood people from Mountain Shadows who weren't being allowed back in their back yet coming in here. But no, Looky-Loos, you've just come home. That's what I think.
And you can't even get to your house.
People have no consideration for other human beings.
So, is there a mysterious monster lurking in a Kansas sinkhole? Yes. This was published in July of this year by Michael Alberti. Okay. So, in 1953, in Inman, Kansas, an 18-year-old Mennonite farm boy named Albert Burt Neufeld shot his rifle twice at Sinkhole Sam. So rumors started the year before. All of a sudden in 1952. And Inman at that time, I looked at their website so many times. At that time, the population was about 500.
Okay.
And they were mostly farmers. So rumors started in 1952 that there was some kind of creature living in the sinkhole. And it was a wormy beast, which just cracks me up. A wormy beast, 15 to 30 feet long, and as big around as a car tire. So at first I thought it meant, and you can't see my hand gesture, I'm thinking how big around a car tire is at any one point. No, it's how far across it is. So it's 2 to 3 feet across.
All right.
And 15 to 30 feet long. So this is killing me.
That's a big worm fucker.
That is a big fucking worm. So in 1952, a veteran Kansas newspaper columnist whose name was Ernest Alva Dewey.
Alva Dewey.
Nobody ever uses the middle name Alva anymore. Have you noticed that? Thomas
Alva Edison. Yeah.
Right? So Alva, I don't
There's so many names that don't get used anymore, though.
He traveled to Inman to sort this all out. I think he came from a bigger city. I'm not sure which one. But his writing career, so take this with a grain of salt, because his writing career began as a publicist for a traveling circus.
Yeah.
I'm like, how do you get that job?
Right? I want to do that.
And he had a reputation for poking fun at local legends. So he claimed he brought along a scientific sidekick whose name was Dr. Erasmus Pugh P. But let me start again. The sidekick,
not Erasmus Pugh?
No. I don't know what letter of the alphabet Pew is. Pew, pew, pew. Okay, scientific sidekick. Dr. Erasmus P. Quattlebaum.
I like Erasmus Pugh Quattlebaum better.
We could call him that. So, Quattlebaum determined, so the article goes on, the Quattlebaum determined that the sinkhole inhabitant was a Foopengurkle. Doesn't this sound like Rose Nyland on Golden Girls? Something she would say. The Foopengurkle. I can show you Foopengurkle.
When I was 13.
Okay, so the Foopengurkle is a critter known to inhabit subterranean Kansas caverns. And that fact explains why such a large animal could exist in a body of water that only fits 15 deep in the middle after hard rain. That was what Dewey wrote. And
it sounds real.
And the big sinkhole was merely Sinkhole Sam's above ground swimming pool. So I could not find anything. And I searched. Okay, I'm not Laura Hayden, but I searched. She could find anything. I'm pretty sure she could find absolutely anything she wanted to on Google. But I couldn't find the dimensions of the big sinkhole and how deep it really was.
Oh.
Dewey concluded that fishermen and swimmers had nothing to worry about because Quattlebaum's research indicated that Foopengurkles were terribly dumb and very vegetarian. I wish you all could see Shannon. I haven't seen her laugh this hard since.
I can't stop it. Every time you say one of those ridiculous words, it just kills me more.
But I mean, this guy got an all-expense paid trip. Well, okay, he got it to Inman, Kansas.
That lucky bastard.
You're just going to have to edit all this hysterical laughter out. Okay. So, in reading along, reading some different articles on this, there is some confusion because there is a lake Inman, and some people referred to the big sinkhole as part of the lake. But look at Google Maps. You can pull it up right now. The big sinkhole, Kansas. You're gonna. It's not part of Lake Inman.
All right.
So, there's a family that farmed the land containing the sinkhole. They've been farming there since the late 1800s, like 1874 or 76. So after this article...
They're tired.
Right. Anyway, after the article came out, they came home from church one day to find the sinkhole surrounded by automobiles because people wanted to see if the serpent would, make
it's
an
gonna
appearance.
come out while you idiots are parked around.
Right. But here's the thing. They all had their windows rolled up just in case it came out. I'm like, I hope nobody had beans for lunch. Okay, so in 1950, so this is also condensed. I'm like, this should have been drawn out over years, and it was not. So in 1953, Kansas City sent another reporter, Mary Kay Flynn, sent her to the scene, and she found a lot of what she called responsible citizens.
What?
That was her phrasing, who described Sinkhole Sam as 15 feet long, with a fluted tail and a long fin on its back. Eyewitnesses also mentioned Sam's big, and I don't know what this means, his big non-snake-like grin.
What? Well,
I don't know what a snake-like grin looks like.
to know what a non-snake-like grin is.
That would seem to be the majority of grins.
I feel like in some people, it's probably snake-like.
So Flynn dubbed Sinkhole Sam as Kansas's answer to the Loch Ness Monster.
Was there a question?
I don't know. If we go back to Neufeld, Bert, who shot the thing in the first place, he swears he hits the monster, but another witness, George, we're going to go with Reger.
Okay.
I don't know how to pronounce it. It's Regeher.
Regeher.
Yeah, so he said that the guy didn't hit the monster. And his daughter, who is still alive, Connie Newcomb, says, you're going to die at this one too. Because they've gone back and asked people about this, and she said her father had the reputation of town rogue.
Oh, God.
In a town of 500 farmers, exactly what do you have to do to be labeled the town rogue? Is that like Otis
Flirt?
Is that like Otis Campbell in the Andy Griffith Show was the town drunk?
Yes.
Who was the town rogue? Bernie. The Neufeld family, the Mennonite farm family, they were not eager to promote the story. And the guy who apparently shot it, his younger brother, Edward, who's now a retired psychologist, was 16 years old when the whole thing happened. And he said the family was embarrassed by the whole thing.
Yeah.
And just wanted to cover it up and not talk about it. So the author of one of these articles called Lauren Coleman, who is the world's most respected cryptozoologist, which is why the word cryptozoologist was on my mind.
Okay.
Coleman, just to give you his bona fides. Oh, where'd it go? Lost my place completely. He is the author of 40 or more books and thousands of articles on cryptids, ranging from Bigfoot to the Chupacabra.
All right.
I'm like, why do I not own this book? I would never have to. Anyway. He's also the director of the International Cryptozoology Museum located in Portland, Maine. So they came around to the idea that it could just be a snake.
An anaconda?
Well, so the largest snake in Kansas, according to Travis Taggart, who is the president and executive director of the Center for North American Herpetology.
All right.
Okay. The biggest snake in Kansas is the gopher snake, which can get up to 89 inches. So, if you're math challenged, I was like, why would you just give it in inches? That's 7.5 feet. Roughly 7.5 feet long.
Okay.
Which is still a big fucking snake.
Yeah, it's bigger than I want to deal with.
Right? I'm like, no.
Although gopher, it probably sounds like it just eats rodents and leaves you alone.
Right.
Yeah.
And that is plenty long enough to scare the shit out of anyone. And if you see something serpentine undulating through the water,
Yeah.
I can imagine it would be hard to correctly estimate their length.
Yeah.
I can get that. Or it could have grown, freakishly large. And they also theorized that someone could have released a pet, air quote there, python or boa constrictor.
But it's so cold in Kansas and it freezes.
I'm just telling you what they said.
Don't shoot the messenger.
But the question was, they're like, but who in the 1950s? So today it wouldn't be that unusual for someone to have an exotic pet like that. Or else the Colorado alligator farm wouldn't exist. Right? But they're like, how likely would that have been? And I'm like, can we go back to the fact that the guy who, Dewey, wrote for a circus? He was a publicist for a traveling circus? So could not a circus...
My grandpa had a pet spider monkey in like the, 60s.
So my thought is, if there were traveling circuses, which there have been forever, yes, they certainly could have had a large reptile that escaped. The paranormal site that I referenced as one of my sources, they were the ones that seemed to confuse Inman Lake with the big sinkhole. They speculate that it could be a creature that was cut off from its natural habitat when the Kansas lakes... There apparently used to be a lot of lakes in Kansas, but they were all drained in the 1920s.
Well, there was a sea in Colorado, so...
Yeah, but we didn't drain the sea. That was it. It was man who drained the lakes.
Oh, yeah.
Because Kansas, farmland, who needs water?
Nobody. Crops don't need water. They need Gatorade.
So it could be something cut off from its natural habitat when the lakes were drained, or it could be a natural creature, a normal creature grown to abnormal size.
Okay.
Now, I did find a mention that the North American earthworm can get 3 feet long. Jesus. I don't want to read whatever you write about a fucking 3-foot earthworm.
I bet your garden would be super healthy, though. Just
yes, but your cats would all be dead.
Earthworms have teeth, don't they? They got like tiny teeth. So if it
was
that
3 feet long, they would not be tiny teeth.
Or they'd have more.
Or you'd have you'd be calling all your neighbors Stumpy. Anyway, I find it disgusting and disturbing that earthworms can get 3 feet long. But they generally don't like to. They can go through water, but they don't like it. No. That's not their preferred medium.
They drown.
It's not their preferred habitat. There are giant freshwater eels, but the largest one ever caught in Kansas was only 3 feet long. I find a 3 foot long eel slightly disturbing, but not as much as an earthworm.
Okay, yeah. No, that seems... Okay. When I used to go to Lake Elkhorn in Maryland, the thing that freaked... I swam, I picked leeches off my body. There were giant killer...
Snapping
primeval alligators, snapping turtles.
Yeah.
There were catfish, which I didn't enjoy because they're kind of gross looking in the water and they would be dead along. But I watched a dude fish an eel, like a brown eel and that's first I knew there were eels in the lake. And an eel is like a big gross snake. Yeah. That lives in the water, in my opinion, which freaks me out far more than a snake. Okay. Except when it's I don't like snakes in the water. And we did have copperheads and they were in the water. I can never remember if it's water moccasins, copperheads, blah, 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 blah.
Okay.
Cottonmouths. I think cottonmouth is a water moccasin.
I think so.
I think we had copperheads. Anyway, watched him fish this giant eel out of the water, and he's trying to kill it. And that poor thing, fought for its life. And it just would not die. He's bashing its head in because he couldn't get it off of the line. He should have just cut the line.
Yeah.
But anyway, as a child, I'm watching this aghast in horror as this poor thing just battles, and it's big, and it's freaky. It's like a greenish brown, right? Yeah. And he's just trying to kill the damn thing. I think finally he was able to get his knife and chop its head off or something. Ugh. But this battle felt like it raged for a couple minutes with me just like... Because we were walking back from having been swimming in that lake, and I was like, that thing came out. But it was long. He was holding it up. It had to have been about 3 feet, because he was holding it up. Mm-hmm. And it was just dangling down half of his body at least.
The lack of sightings in recent years leads to speculation that that Sinkhole Sam has either gone back to the underground cavern from whence it came.
It's too bright.
That's my wording from whence it came.
Good job.
Or whatever it was lived out its natural lifespan and died. Which makes a whole lot
Yeah, that actually does.
That makes a lot more sense. Although I think if that was the case, wouldn't they have found bones or a skull or something?
What if it went back to whence it came underground and died?
Well, that's not as fun.
I don't get to talk about bodies then.
So that was Sinkhole Sam.
Well, mad props for trying to seriously read that while tears were running down my face.
And thank you.
I tried to quietly.
You didn't try to do anything quietly.
I did momentarily.
There may have been a nanosecond.
There was some shoulder shaking.
Thought about it.
Yeah.
But a big thank you very much to Thing One, who said, "Hey, you should talk about Sinkhole Sam." And I'll talk on the next one about what I was trying to research, but it didn't work. So I was like, Sinkhole Sam, you're up.
So that means she's heard of it in the area, which is fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's actually not far from Hutchinson, which is not far from her.
Okay.
And nobody else will know where Hutchinson, Kansas is. I've been there.
Ooh.
I have
Good
been
for
there.
you.
If I had known, I would have insisted we drive by the big sinkhole, but I didn't know about
Now
this.
you will, though. Now
I will.
you know to go out there and see the big sinkhole.
Yes. So, okay, we've done it.
Yay! Okay. Despite us both having shorter than usual pieces.
How much time did we fill?
We're at an hour and 25.
And
about
10 of
20
that
minutes
is-
back.
Yes, it's just hysterical laughter.
I may or may not edit that out. Who knows? I may leave it in. Who doesn't need...
Who doesn't need to hear that?
All right. You can go to our website.
Yes.
At mysteriesmonstersmayhem.com. There's a little form on there that you can fill out and send us your own stories, things you might want us to research. Send us things that make us laugh hysterically. We always appreciate that. Who doesn't need more of that? Send us your ghost stories. Send us your family crime stories. Do you have a relative who was sent to prison for something? We totally want to hear about that.
We would totally, yes.
Do you have... I don't know, a haunted house story, because I'd like to hear one that I can just roll with and not research.
Yes, I would love that.
You can also email us at mysteriesmonstersmayhem@gmail.com. You can visit us on Facebook. That's at Mysteries, Monsters, and Mayhem. You can search us out. We post pictures. We post references to the things we've spoken about, our sources, link to, if we mention a restaurant or something, we'll link to it. All of that good stuff. So we should probably start actually doing, random posts, not on the source day, where we link to the books we've mentioned.
Yes.
That would probably be a good thing for us to start doing.
Okay.
All right. So hopefully by the time you hear this, we've started doing that.
out.
And anyway, we really, really, really want to hear your stories, people.
Yes, talk
Send
to
them
us.
All right. Well, I think that covered everything. Thank you for
so.
listening.
Have a good week, and you'll be hearing more from us as we create our own personal mayhem.
As always. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.